Hey guys, it's me, Sharmise, aka Professor Mo, and we are back with another micro lesson in public speaking. Today we are on lesson number 23, and we are talking about speaking across cultures or ages. I think this particular lesson is interesting because I will be 40 this year, and I have had students give speeches about topics or events that have happened that I'm not as in touch with as I might have been if I were a smidge younger. And it's really important as a public speaker when you are giving a planned and prepared speech to consider every single person in your audience. Now, granted, the speeches that I did have when I was teaching in person, most of my students were between 16 and 18 years old. I'm the odd man out. I'm the only person in the class that probably would not understand either the terminology, which that has happened as well, the terminology or the person someone is referring to, because I'm not going to say I'm culturally out of touch, but for that age bracket, I might just be. So when you are giving a speech about a particular topic and you know matter-of-factly that there are going to be a myriad of ages or a wide range of ages in your audience, it's going to be super important to make everything make sense for every single person in the room. If you are giving a speech and there is a certain event or a person, I think it can be super advantageous to give context to the information that you plan to provide by paralleling two events, one that may have happened currently and one that happened during a time frame that might make sense for other people in the room. That will bridge the gap. Same thing for a person. So I kind of thought of some examples. I don't know how great they will be, but everybody pretty much knows who Tiana Taylor is. She's a triple threat. Maybe if you were comparing Tiana Taylor and you have some people that are 40 and up, 50 and up in the room, maybe you might also mention Janet Jackson or Sierra. That's what I have. Janet Jackson technically is a triple threat, and so is Sierra. And those would be maybe a comparison. Or if you are talking about Michael B. Jordan, he just won, I was about to say a Grammy, he just won an Academy Award, and so does Denzel Washington. He's also a recipient of that. So maybe you'll say he is the Denzel Washington of this new age. But giving context to certain situations, providing multiple time frames could make all the difference. So if we were talking about, things that are going on in the economy now, maybe you could refer to previous recessions that have happened for other people in the room. Or if you're talking about the pandemic, you could also mention other pandemics that have happened. More recently, everybody's aware of COVID, but at one point there was like swine flu, or like maybe if you were doing a history speech and you talk about certain plagues or things of that nature, you could easily parallel them by talking about the pandemics that have happened within the last decade. Anything that will bridge the gap and make it a little bit more palatable for every single person in the room is going to make it count. If you only lean on your topic, you run the risk of it not resonating with every single person. So I would challenge you to think of current events, whether they are from the past. That's not a current event. If you have something from the past, find a current event. If you have something current, maybe parallel it with something in history to make it make sense and to give it greater meaning or context. Another thing that is important is to look at language. I've had students say, one of my students did a speech about gun control, and she said glizzy for most of the speech. And I understood what she meant towards the end. Like, I just kind of was listening and I was like, oh, okay. And she didn't have a visual aid, so I just didn't get it. And then she said, towards the end, everything just made sense to me, but I didn't know what a glizzy was because I guess it's a rap reference. My husband explained it to me when I got home, but there have been a many of speeches that have been from current culture and with colloquialisms for high school age kids that didn't really click with me. So when I think about that, I think about when I was younger, and I would say things and my mom or my aunts would be like, what? So I think it's important to have a well-rounded speech that bridges the gap for any person in the room, whether it's your instructor or an older coworker or colleague or friend or family member. Be able to have a current event or a historical reference that makes it make sense. Consider the language and the colloquialisms of today. Make sure you're able to tie those things in as well, and try to focus on just building a connection with every single person in the room. Again, if you have an audience-centered speech, you are critically thinking and planning ahead for every single person in the room so that nobody feels left out, nothing goes over anyone's head. Use your best critical thinking and lead with having an audience-centered speech, and you should be just fine. But having a connection for multiple ages and cultures is going to matter. So do your research, take your time, have an intentional speech that is going to reach everybody, and you've done your job. I'll see you guys next time.